Hey there, this is Cara-Michele with Strength and Vitality. I want to explain to you the second most important thing I think we need to look at first if you're trying to have consistent mental and physical energy. First was digestion, and then we need to look at blood sugar. So here I'm going to try to explain this to you in 3 or 4 minutes or less. And I want to do this because it's super important for you to understand how your system works, and then that allows you to make conscious decisions for yourself as you move through your day. All right, here's the deal. There's 2 fuel systems for our body. We can use glucose from carbohydrates, or we can use fats from our food also, okay? Let's talk about the glucose side because that tends to be the problem, all right? So whenever you eat anything, eat an apple, take that in, that's going to turn into glucose in your body. Sugars inside the body are called glucose. Glucose is great. That's one of the fuel systems for our body. Fantastic. When you eat something and your glucose levels rise, then your insulin levels are going to rise. The pancreas produces the insulin. The insulin is there because the cells that are hungry, that need that fuel, are not going to just take the glucose on its own and need insulin in the middle. And then once you get all 3, then the cells can use the glucose, right? So your pancreas is going to produce enough insulin in order to get that fuel into the cells. Sometimes the body produces too much because it's trying to make sure it has enough, especially if you're having a lot of carbohydrates regularly, if your blood sugar is shooting up high levels on a regular basis, and want to make sure it has enough insulin then to deal with. And sometimes you have too much insulin, then you can have a lot of insulin floating through your system. You have a lot of insulin floating through your system, guess what? You're going to be hungrier, and you're going to specifically want sugars and carbs. That craving is going to start for you because you have so much insulin floating through your system. And then while that's happening, your blood sugar is dropping because the insulin is now being taken out of the bloodstream and into the cells, right? And so then you can have this insulin resistance or hypoglycemic index, hypoglycemic kind of response here, right? Foods that are high on the hypoglycemic index can cause this, right? So a lot of times people feel tired and shaky and angry. On the Snickers commercials, they call it hangry, right? Like, you just don't bother me, I need something now, right? So what do you have to do? You have to go and get something quickly. So you get your coworker, or you go down to the kitchen, you grab some carbs, some chips or something like that, candy, eat that, and now your blood sugar's up, and now we have the whole process that starts again because now you have more insulin and you go through this. More cravings, the whole 9 yards, right? So guess what? When this is happening, your adrenals are going to kick in to try to help balance your blood sugar. It's going to help to get in there and keep your blood sugar stable. So this is one of the reasons that we could have adrenal fatigue, because the adrenals are trying to help balance our blood sugar, and because we're eating this and then you get more insulin and the whole 9 yards starts, right? And this could be one of the reasons it keeps you up at night, that you're not sleeping well, because when your insulin levels drop, your body's going to wake you up because it doesn't have enough fuel and it doesn't want you to die in your sleep, right? So you get this crazy thing that happens when you have tons of carbs coming in. On the side, you can have what's called metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is a collection of different symptoms, but really what it's saying is that your hormone system is going to be thrown off, which means for women, you're going to have high testosterone and low estrogen. For men, you're going to have low testosterone, high estrogen levels. And for women, you can get male pattern baldness. Men, they can get the man boobs and a little bit of belly, right? So when you have lots of estrogen running through your system, then all of a sudden you're going to have more weight gain. They actually give estrogen to cows to make them fat, right? So you can see how you've got, and guess what? When you have lots of insulin floating through the system and lots of glucose, if that fuel is not being used, if the glucose is not being used because our body doesn't need all the fuel that we're taking in, and now you have extra, what's needed goes to the cell. Now you have a lot of extra because of all the carbs that we're eating. That gets stored as fat, right? Plus, now you have some hormonal irregulation, and now you have a lot of estrogen, and then you're producing a lot more fat in the body. Can you see how this cycle is just going to make life so challenging for you, right? So, this is a progression. You start off with, this imbalance here with blood sugar for a period of time, and then you slip over into metabolic syndrome, and then the next step, that's diabetes, right? Diabetes is one of the biggest health issues around the world, because more and more people are getting way too many carbs and we're moving around a lot less, right? 4 out of 5 people. So I hope this helps you understand why you may be struggling with weight gain, why you may be struggling with energy levels, your hormones are off, you're not sleeping well at night, and why I think this is one of the top 2 things that we need to look at when we get started trying to create more mental and physical strength and vitality. If you have any questions, let me know. Happy to chat with you.